Greetings, guys, gals, and non-binary pals, and welcome back to another episode of the SavvyCat Podcast. I'm Savvy.
I'm Cat. That was better that time. There we go.
Well, because I go by Sav, but it doesn't match the podcast name, does it? My name is Sav, and then 3 little V's, and then the Y.
Yeah, exactly.
Savvy.
Yeah.
That's how you spell it. Today we are talking about labels and identity.
Yes. How we identify, what we think of labels, blah, 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 blah. Yes.
Yeah, I get a lot of people asking me sort of like, I don't know if I'm bisexual. I don't know if I'm gay. I don't know what my sexuality is. And so I thought that it would be good to sort of sit down and sort of talk about our experiences with that and hopefully help validate you and help you sort of understand and things.
Yeah.
I had something I was going to say and I forgot what it was. I'm useless.
It'll come back soon.
So, for starters, how do we identify? So, I am someone who struggled a bit with my identity, sort of like, I don't feel like any label really fits me personally, which is why I sort of just identify as queer, because that's an umbrella term and doesn't have any sort of specification of what it is. It's just, I am queer.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a hard time for a bit trying to find it, but then I remember taking all those, like, are you gay quizzes? Like those, like, Quizlet, really bad, a 12-year-old made it kind of quizzes online when I was about 14. Oh, truly an awakening of times.
Like Quiblo and
yeah,
things?
Exactly. And a lot of those results was bisexual, and I remember like watching a bunch of bisexual YouTubers explain their label and watching a bunch of like definitions and just researching it a lot, and I remember going, yup, that's exactly what I feel.
And I think the thing with bisexual as well is like it has different meanings for everyone. I think that's the same with all labels. Everyone sort of, there's no set definition of what a label is because everyone, like, sexuality is fluid, right? And it can hold different meanings for different people.
Yeah.
And I think that is an important note to make. There is no one way to be bisexual.
Definitely. It's like, I don't know, you get like a lot of controversy, but like between like bi and pan, like some people get those two mixed up, and it's kind of like a gray line, but the way that I kind of define it as is bisexuality is attraction to 2 or more genders, right? But pansexuality is I'm attracted to everybody regardless of gender. So bisexual,
not everybody, anybody. Anybody, sorry. So it's kind of like I define it as like 1, you are aware of like gender and those kinds of things, whereas pan, it's like you don't even consider that. Yeah.
That's kind of how I...
And it's that thing as well of like bisexuality, there is some bisexual people have a gender preference.
Definitely. Yeah.
Whereas with pansexuality, like she said, it's like you're gender blind, so you don't have a preference over gender. It's just the last thing you consider.
Exactly. That's kind of how I sort out those 2 terms. Yeah. Where it's like, you know, we've talked about biphobia before, but it's a lot of like, you can have like 95% attraction to girls and 5% attraction to boys, and you're still bisexual. That's, if you feel that's the label for you, that's valid. Yeah.
And it can be the other way around as well.
Exactly.
95% attraction to the opposite gender, and 5% attracted to the same gender, that is still completely valid as well. And I feel like that's often left out of the like bisexual community, and on TikTok on things it's like bisexuals always prefer girls, and that's not always the case. And I feel like that can be quite invalidating for a lot of female identifying bisexuals.
I definitely think that we've talked about this before, but I'll reiterate it again. I definitely think that there is like, you know, it comes to down to that whole thing if you have to choose, where it's like, no, you can be leaning more towards attraction to the opposite gender and still be valid inside the LGBT plus community. You know?
Yeah, and you can be dating someone or married to someone of the opposite gender, and that is still, your sexuality doesn't just disappear because you're dating someone of a specific gender.
Yes, definitely.
We have a whole episode on biphobia. Yeah. Check that out.
Yeah.
Because we go into this a lot more.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting because, like, for me, I was thinking about this a couple days ago. I, like, remember when I was, like, 12, I was with a friend and they were like, well, you're straight. And I kind of was just like, no.
Yeah.
That was just my, like, response to them. I was just like, no. And they're like, what are you then? And I was like, I don't know. I just know that I'm not straight. Yeah. That's just kind of always been my sort of thing.
Yeah.
And like, I just personally, labels can really help people, you know, feel like what they're experiencing is normal, right?
Yeah.
So like, if you're confused about your sexuality and things, having a label can really help you be like, this is where I belong, and there are other people who feel the same as me.
Yeah.
And I think that is really cool. I personally have just never felt like any of them apply to me, which is interesting. And I've had a lot of people in my comments sort of say similar things, and they can get really confused about it. And I just want to let you know that is totally okay.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like, sexuality is a fluid thing, and even if you choose a label and then decide later that it doesn't fit for you, that is okay, and you can change it.
Yeah.
You can identify as bisexual and then realize that you're actually a lesbian or gay, or you can identify as bi and then realize that you're actually straight. Like, it happens, and that's okay, and your preferences can change as you grow and you figure yourself out, and there's no set time on when you have to figure out
absolutely not
how you identify.
Yeah, it's like the whole thing with like labels and stuff like that, I feel like they were created just as like, you know, I don't know, like, it's not strict rules. It's just, these are descriptions of things. It's like, kind of, it's a bad analogy, but like, you can go, oh, I really like a pastel palette clothing, you know? And then as you glow and change and blah, blah, blah. It's a bad analogy because I know it's not a choice. But like, sometimes, you know, we grow as people, and certain things happen, and certain perspectives in our mind and ourselves change over time. And it's the same with our sexualities. It's like, if you trying to force yourself into a label when you know it's not right, whether it be straight or anything else, that can be harmful.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to force yourself to conform to something that doesn't, if it doesn't feel right, maybe it's not for you, and that is okay.
That's okay, yeah.
Like I said, you don't need to have a definite answer. I know that it can help, and it can be confusing not to have one, but I think it's an interesting thing as well, because like, I think as time goes on, everyone's starting to see gender and sexuality as much more of a fluid thing.
Yeah.
Which I think it's quite cool. And I mean, you can look at labels and you can kind of see that people appreciate labels a lot with the creation of more labels, because people feel like they need the way they feel to be expressed in something they can identify as. And that's why there's been the creation of like pansexuality, omnisexuality, all those sorts of things, because those weren't terminologies. Oh my God. Those weren't terminologies that existed, and it can feel really isolating when the way you feel isn't represented because you don't feel like anyone else is like you. And so it's having a group of people that you feel understand you.
Exactly.
And that's why.
Yeah, and like there's like, you can be like, I know a couple of people who are like bisexual, but I don't know, bisexual but like aromantic, or ace and then biromantic.
Yes.
Like there are different categories that you can work out and explore and trying to see which one fits you. So like you can be not sexually attracted to anyone. And then you can like still want to seek romantic attractions to people.
Yeah, you see a lot of asexual people in relationships.
Yeah.
And like that is totally valid. You don't have to be sexually attracted to people to want a relationship with them.
And the other way around, you don't have to.
Yes.
You don't have to want a romantic relationship. You can just seek sexual relationships. You don't have to find like a romantic partner if you don't want to.
And that is totally valid.
Yeah. Completely valid.
As long as it's consensual and the other person knows that that's your intention.
Yeah, of course.
Don't go leading people on. Make sure that is known.
Yeah.
It's all about communication. Yeah. All sorts of like relationships of any sort. You have to have like good communication.
Yeah.
And don't feel like you have to explain your sexuality to people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like when we say communication, it's just, you know, make sure that everybody is on the same kind of terms. Like everybody understands your situation. Not understands, but like everybody's aware of your situation and how you feel. And that you are aware of everybody's situation and how they feel. But you don't have to justify yourself, ever.
No.
If that's how you feel, then that's how you feel.
Exactly, and that's always valid. Your feelings are always valid. And if someone tells you that they're not, get out. Well, they should get out.
Yeah, they can get out.
It's all just such an interesting thing, like sexuality and things, and I think people are becoming more and more sort of in tune to it and realizing that like it's not something to be. I also, though, I have a very skewed view on this because I'm on like everyone around me is gay.
Yeah.
So I don't really know. It's this big thing of like I keep thinking that I'm like, oh, there's just more and more gay people, but like it also just could be because I am surrounded by gay people. And, like, I'm on gay TikTok, so I forget that there are straight people, and it's all just...
Well, I mean, the thing is, it's not that, like, more and more people are gay. It's that more and more people are feeling comfortable with themselves to come out. They're always gay.
That's what I mean.
They're always, you know...
Well, it's also this thing of, like, a lot of people who are, like... bi or pan or queer or whatever have always like, you know, they found it easier to, they're told to suppress it, so they just like don't acknowledge the side of them that's attracted to people of the same gender.
Yeah.
Which, so you've seen like there's like a huge increase in like people who identify as like bisexual or pansexual. And my cousin came up with a good analogy. He's like, back in the day, if you were left-handed, you would get, like, smacked. You weren't allowed to be left-handed, and you had to learn to write with your right hand. Mm. So now you look at it, and you see that there's a big increase of people who are left-handed.
Yeah.
But that's not because there were less people who were left-handed. It's just that there are less people being, like, told they're not allowed to be left-handed.
Yeah, exactly. Or
there are less people being punished for being left-handed, so they...
Yeah, or it's...
And it's the same sort of thing. So there are... Sorry.
No.
Continue.
No. It's like, you know, a study came out quite a while ago. It was like 1 in 3 people in the next few years will be autistic. And it's like, it's not that more and more people are becoming autistic. It's that a lot of people have autism now and not getting the support they need for it. So it's our technology and our systems and our ability to recognize and support people is becoming more and more open.
Yeah, and our understanding of like
exactly
human brain and human behavior and stuff. Like oh my god, we watched a National Theatre production on TV the other day. It was about King George and him going like mad. And oh my god, just like, oh, it hurts to watch. Like the medical system and things, like up until very recently, particularly with like psychiatric and psychological disorders, it just like, oh my god, it breaks my heart to see how it was handled, because no one had any understanding of it at all. And like medical practices and everything with like the leeches and all that sort of stuff, where it was because they genuinely thought that that's what would help. And you just see these poor people who, particularly with these like mental disorders, who are just like struggling so much and no one understands them, and they're just treated so badly, and there's nothing that you can do, and you're like literally being like, I don't know, it just dealing with like mental illness and stuff is still a very new thing. Like psychology is still a very, very new thing. Extremely
new.
More and like, I'm not saying that being LGBT is a mental disorder. No. That's not what I'm saying. This is just an example of just like human behavior and how human behavior has been treated, and the things that we learn and understand as time goes on, and figuring out, you know, that all these like these things all have like reasons and biology, and there's like brain patterns and chemicals and stuff. So like it's just interesting, and it's like,
I mean, and you can also use it as like a point of hope, you know? It's like, you know, with technology increasing, like 100 or so years ago, being LGBT was considered a mental illness. And then as time and technology evolved, then people studied mental illness. They're like, no, it's not. It's just a normal thing, you know? And as time gets... as time goes on, it'll get even more normal and regular, and it'll just be a thing.
The saddest thing, though, is that, like, there was a time where it wasn't considered those things. Yeah. Like, it was seen as normal, and then it was just all set backwards. And that's the most frustrating thing, is that, like, oh my god.
Then the
fact that heteronormativity... Yeah, well, even, like, I mean, ancient Greek people and stuff, were they white? They were white, right?
Yes, they were.
It was more when
the Christians came.
Judeo-Christianity came and just, like, wiped out all... Christianity obviously has evolved, and there are a lot of Christians who are now supportive of it. I'm not saying that Christianity is bad. You're entitled to your beliefs. But back in the day, when it was, like, a new thing, these rules were set, and they were like, this is unnatural. This needs to be fixed. Yeah. And they went and spread that. Yeah. And you look at, like...
It's not religion that's the problem. It's powerful, greedy people that used religion as a manipulation point.
Yes, and back in the day, that was everyone.
Yeah.
And it's like this interesting thing of, like, you know, so we live in these societies that are very, very heavily influenced by this Christianity. Like, we've evolved and adapted and grown, but our societies are still based on those morals and those things that have been set for us, and we're just trying to break those. And those weren't there once upon a time.
Yeah.
And it's just this incredibly frustrating, like, we're fighting, it's weird, because we're progressing forward by fighting to go back. Yeah. In a way. Yeah. If that makes sense. Without the restrictions of what is, like, right or wrong. Like, these restrictions of right or wrong were set by white men who had a chat with God, you know?
Yeah. Who got high one time and thought they ruled the world.
It's just so, like, and we don't learn about it in schools or anything because the school system and the education system have been set for such a long time. Like, they haven't changed. And it's all completely whitewashed. We learn about things post-colonization. And when we learn about things before that, we don't learn very much about it. And we learn about Indigenous people as being, like, you know, like, savages and, like, things like that. You know what I mean? Which is terrible. And they never talk about, like, gender identity and heteronormativity and how that was enforced when, like, colonizers came around and when Christianity was introduced. There's just entire bits of, like, culture that we never learn about because it's morally wrong and not worth talking about.
Yeah, and, like, it's so interesting because, like, you know, when I think back to, like, learning about history and other cultures and stuff, the most I've ever spent or ever learnt about other cultures before, like, colonization was in art. Like, not history, but art.
Interesting. I didn't learn anything about them in art.
Oh. No, in both art classes I've taken, they spend a lot of detail going into, like, yes, we learnt about Aboriginal designs.
Did we?
Yeah, we spent a whole lesson together learning about Aboriginal Australians and their culture.
I have no memory of this.
Oh. Well, we did.
I have no memory of this. I have a terrible, terrible memory.
Yeah, it's usually...
I don't remember shit.
Yeah. In art class, you do spend a lot of time. It of course, like, it depends on the school and stuff like that, but I remember the most I've ever learnt about, like, other cultures and other... before white people came, was an art, and it was more kind of not exactly history, but more culture. Which is interesting to think about how you would spend more time learning about how they were in their ideals instead of what pain they went through.
Yeah. It's just all... Yeah. And you don't learn about, like... You don't go in depth either about it. It sort of just brushes the surface of it.
Yeah.
Also, I realized that most people who follow us and stuff are in the UK, where it's not like there's not like an Indigenous people. I kind of forgot about that.
Yeah.
I don't know what you learn in school here, but before Christianity and stuff has been here for a very, very long time. But there was before it.
Yes.
It was, again, heteronormativity, enforced monogamy, enforced gender binary. That wasn't a thing here either.
Yeah.
It just dates a little bit further back.
Yeah.
And again, you don't really learn about it in school as far as I'm aware. And when you learn about, like, you know, things like ancient Greece and things like that, they kind of paint it as though it was a fairy tale and it didn't actually happen. I don't know if that's...
They kind of do.
They... like, they kind of talk about it as though it's, like, all just make-believe and stories.
Yeah, it's like a lot of the myths about Greece were, like, 90% of their lives.
Yeah, it's so strange. Like, I kind of hadn't even thought about it. Like, everything you read about, like, ancient Greece and stuff, I never learned about it at school. I didn't take classics. But as far as I'm aware, it kind of is just, like, it's just interesting. Because it sounds like this make-believe place. Like, it sounds just wild. It's wild.
Yeah, it's so interesting when, like, because I've been to Greece and I've taken, like, a tour around Greece, and it's so interesting where they're, like, and this is where the myth happened, and it's like exactly like the ruins of the place, and I'm just like, I'm not saying gods came down, but a lot of shit certainly happened here.
I love ancient Greece, man.
We need to go to Greece together.
Time. Yes, can we please?
Yes.
After this freaking lockdown is over. I keep complaining about lockdown, but I'm actually terrified for it to end.
Me too.
Like, I'm kind of like accustomed to this. Half of the time I've been in London, I've been in lockdown, and I'm like not ready. This is my life now. I'm not ready for it to be over.
Yeah, no, that's terrifying. Let's not talk about that.
Having to go outside and see people?
Nope.
I don't know, man. I'm not down for that.
No. Nuh-uh.
Hard pass.
I'm thinking about what you said before about, like, English people not having Indigenous people, and I can't, like, I know that's true, but I can't really wrap my head around that.
I know. I was thinking about this the other day. Like, I made a video about it on TikTok, and I'm like, most of the people that follow me are in the UK, and they don't have... It's not the same.
Like,
it's confusing.
Yeah, like, I didn't realize how much, like, that kind of have influenced my life. Like, growing up in New Zealand, even though it's pushed down a lot, you are still surrounded by, like, Māori stuff. And, like, especially, like, I've lived in Indonesia, which is a lot of different cultures and things. And then I moved to Japan, which again is a completely different culture to, you know, a white Christian. So just imagining living in a country where there's no kind of, like, I live in Germany now.
You do. It's like you do live in one of those countries. Oh, it's wild. I know. I keep talking about, like, Indigenous cultures on TikTok, and I'm like, this... You don't learn about it at school. I'm like, well, no, they don't.
Yeah.
But they should, because they're the ones who, like, you know...
Yeah.
Fucked it all.
Exactly. If anyone should be learning about Indigenous cultures, it's England, France, and Spain.
Well, also just anywhere in the UK, like, I mean,
yeah.
Ireland and Scotland and Wales and shit were all sort of contributors in that. Yeah. Most of the early settlers in New Zealand were, like, Scottish and Welsh, weren't they?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Well, I mean, the Scottish and Welsh have been kind of fucked over by the English anyway.
That's true. England just fucked everything.
Yeah,
is really what we're trying to say.
Kinda. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
It's just so interesting. Like, the history of different places is so different. And, like, looking at, like, the architecture and stuff through Europe is just insane compared to, like, home.
Well, I mean, a lot of the architecture
also the
fact was destroyed.
Yeah. It's interesting because we refer to, like, New Zealand as, like, a new country, but it's not new. It's just more recently colonized.
Yeah.
It was a country before it was a white country. And the fact that people are always like, God, it just bothers me so much. And they're like, when this person discovered, I'm like, they didn't freaking discover it.
Oh.
It was already discovered. They came and just murdered people because they didn't see them as people. They're like, I am the first person. All these other people, no, they're not people.
The fact that
they're just in the way.
Yeah, the fact that people just, like, describe, like, Cook or whatever to be the one that discovered New Zealand. It's like, no, technically, the Māori were. Like, they were the ones that came on the ship and saw the island. They discovered it. It used to be just birds.
Yeah. Even in terms of, like, not being colonized, New Zealand is still kind of it's quite a new country.
It is.
Like, there were supposedly people arrived in, like, 1000 AD.
Mm-hmm.
which is like very late in the scheme of things. Like, there have been people in New Zealand for 1,000 years.
Oh yeah,
like
definitely.
It's really funny. Like, you look at buildings around Europe, like in London and stuff, and there are buildings that have been here longer than there have been humans in New Zealand.
Yeah, that is.
Which is just wild. It just blows my mind.
It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous how young New Zealand is.
It's crazy. It's so interesting though. And like, it's wild. But like oh man, New Zealand is a place.
Wait, weren't we talking about labels?
Yeah. Yeah, we kind of went off topic a little bit. Well, because Indigenous cultures, a lot of them didn't have labels and things like that.
Exactly.
Like, there's a culture, I think a Bengali culture, where they had a person that was non-binary, neither male nor female, and they were thought to hold a secret ability to be able to solve crimes because they saw things from different perspectives, or from multiple perspectives.
That's so cool.
Which I think is so cool.
That's
non-binary
so cool.
people are just excellent crime solvers.
Yeah.
And in, like, Pacific Island culture, they have the, like... Oh, my God. I can't remember what it's called. There's, like, a large male to female trans kind of community. Like, very large. And it's, like, very, very normal.
That's so cool.
And it always has been.
Yeah.
And it's, like... That should be... That's been around for... forever.
Yeah.
Which is just like, it's very interesting. There's if you look at like statistics, I think it's like there is just a very large number of male to female trans people within like Maori, Samoan, Tongan, just Pacific Island culture.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
It's very cool. Yeah.
Just the fact that no one used to have a problem with that used to be totally normal, and now it's something people get like shit for. It's just so infuriating.
Yeah, it's kind of a bit like, I don't know, it's that whole thing of like, my mum refers it to like a pendulum swing. So like, things were here and now everything was really accepted and really cool, and everything, you know, in a lot of cultures was just normalized. And then we swung this way where everything was evil and sin and horrible, and you were killed for literally doing anything. And we're kind of just slowly swinging back. But unfortunately, the swing back means we have to like push it.
Yeah, well, because there's still so many people who are like, no, this is wrong. This goes against my values. Like, what the fuck are your values? How can you sit here and say that it's wrong? People like, respect my opinion. I'm like, if your opinion is actively oppressing someone, it's not an opinion.
No.
It's just you being a terrible person.
Yeah. It's like, I don't understand
it's so stupid.
How your values, like, I don't understand how someone can, like, grow up and become that their values are, like, I'm always right, or you need to follow my rules, instead of, I don't know, respecting people.
It's just, like, just basic human, just respect people. It's not that difficult. Like, you're going out of your way to disrespect people.
Yeah. It does not affect your life in the slightest at all. It doesn't matter if SpongeBob is gay. It doesn't matter. Did it affect you? No.
It's so funny. Oh, it's so funny. I'm just imagining this like man with his son, and his son's like watching TV, and he's like, "What are you watching?" And his son's like, "I'm watching SpongeBob." And he goes, "Turn that off. It'll make you gay." And the son just looks at him and says, "Didn't you watch SpongeBob?"
Yeah.
The episodes are still the same. Nothing has changed. It's so just no one cares. It doesn't affect you. Oh my god, there are bigger things to. Oh my god, it's so stupid. just like sit down. Honestly.
Oh my god.
It just blows my mind.
It's the dumbest argument ever.
Yeah, well, and there's some like upsetting things happening in the world. Like people are sort of going back to like being in control by like far right wing people, like in Poland at the moment. Like that whole thing is they've signed like a family card, which is basically they're basically saying that being gay is being a pedophile.
Yeah,
that's what Poland is saying at the moment, and I just don't understand how. I just don't understand how or why or just like what the actual fuck is going on there.
It's power and control.
Oh, it just makes me so angry.
It's ridiculous.
Oh, there's so many. And like in Hungary at the moment, they've just gone backwards and they're now saying that trans people aren't allowed to change their name and they aren't allowed to change their gender. And they've like reopened like discrimination laws and things against trans people. And it's just... This is a whole other topic. I'm sorry. I've gone off because I started getting mad.
Fair enough. It's infuriating. Absolutely infuriating.
I have set up a page on my website with a lot of things you can do to help Poland if you wanted to check that out, by the way. That'll be linked in the description.
Yeah, please do.
There's like emails and things you can send. There's emails you can send, petitions you can sign, places you can donate. That will be linked in the description.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because, my God, it's so awful.
The fact that...
And, like, people shouldn't... Sorry, continue. Sorry, there's a lag, so we often end up talking over each other.
Yeah, the fact that people can just, like, literally be minding their own business. And then someone can go on and go, like, you should be jailed because your business is not about me.
Yeah. Well, the one that gets me as well is, like, people saying, you can't be gay, you're going to hell. Like, why do you care if I go to hell? Like, you're not going to be there. According to you, you're not going to be there, so why does it matter? And they say it's because, like, you know, people want to help people. But I'm like... They're like, I want to help you. I don't want you to go to hell. I'm like, shut up. I don't care.
It's so stupid.
Just, like, mind your own fucking business. If I just... makes me so
stupid.
So frustrated. Yeah. Someone who, I mean, talks about that well. I mean, I really like Mr. Atheist's content. He makes a lot of good content about, like... Because he grew up a Mormon, and he's pan. And he sort of talks about, like, being in that mindset and thinking that you are helping people and why they sort of do that propaganda and stuff. And it is quite interesting. So if you want to learn more about that, he's quite a good person to
Yeah, I really like
watch.
his videos.
He's very, very... He is very well-spoken.
Yeah.
There's a lot of content creators on, like, YouTube who have come out of, like, religious cults like Mormon, Scientology, Jehovah's Witness and things, and they make really good content and, like, from an inside perspective, which I think is really cool and really interesting.
Yeah.
I can't speak much on that because I've not ever been in one of those religions.
Yeah.
Although my childhood sweetheart, like my boyfriend when I was like 4, he was a Mormon.
Oh, really? Oh my goodness.
So, we talked about, you know, when you're like 4 and you're like, we're going to get married one day. My mom told me it meant I had to become a Mormon. And I was like, no, it doesn't. I didn't even know what a Mormon was, but I didn't want to.
Fair enough.
But I just think that, so that's a fun fact for you. Oh, God. I wonder how he messaged me on Facebook recently. That's a fun fact. Anyway, that's a different story. Yeah, so we went on a ton of weird little tangents there. Did we cover everything we wanted to talk about? Maybe. I don't know. But effectively, moral of the story is that gender and sexuality are fluid. They are natural. enforced heteronormativity, monogamy, and gender roles are toxic and unnatural. You can change your mind about who you are. There is not a time limit. Be who you want. Love who you want. As long as it's all consensual, it's fine, baby.
Yeah. Yeah. Just, you are allowed to take your time and explore these things and change your mind and then unchange your mind. Like, as long as, at the end of the day, if you are comfortable and, yeah, if you are comfortable, it's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
It's valid.
So, on that note, we don't have a specific charity today. We have 2 links in the description, which are to my website. There's a page where you can help Poland, like I said before, and then there's a Black Lives Matter page as well, where you can help sign petitions and donate to different organizations and things there.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really important that I've seen a lot of people, like, die down about the importance of Black Lives Matter, but it's really important that we keep going.
Yes, we cannot give up. Just because the hype is dying down doesn't mean it's not still important. We still need to keep fighting. Exactly. Always. So I will keep that being updated and add more charities and things. I've added an email address to my support page, so if you have any more charities or anything that you think I should add, please feel free to email them to me or add them in the comments as well. If there are any places you think, any charities or anything that you think we should mention, please do that.
Yeah, definitely.
Before we go,
yes,
we got 2 Patreons.
Yay!
Which is incredible. Like, we're genuinely blown away. Like, thank you so much. Iz and Amy, we love you.
My heroes. Like, my absolute legends.
We actually cried.
We did. We did cry.
We want to keep making these podcasts, and we want to make them at, like, as enjoyable as possible. So we're currently saving up for, like, equipment. Microphones, because this microphone's a singing microphone and it doesn't work incredibly for this. And also we don't have cameras. We're filming on our phones.
Yeah. We are, all my audio and filming stuff is coming off of my phone right now.
Yes. And we also both have our own YouTube channels too.
Yes.
Which we will link in the description. So, like, if you wanted to become a Patreon, you'll get our podcast episodes a week early, and you get, like, access to polls and things, and we will love you forever and ever and be forever grateful. Please do not feel like you have to, but if you want to, all the money that we get will be going directly into saving up for equipment, starting with Kat getting a microphone.
Yeah.
So, it's just to increase our quality here and be able to make them as enjoyable as possible for you. And again, thank you so much to Iz and Amy.
Yeah.
We love you.
Thank you.
We love you so much.
Okay.
Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah. Thank you for watching. Thank you for hearing us rant and go off topic and stuff again.
And we will see you again next week. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.
Bye.